Should I do a jig every time before every video I do? Let me know in the comments below. I'm actually wearing jeans today, which is quite the difference from what I'm used to, because usually I have a guitar in front of me and you don't always see the lower half of my body, therefore I can get away with being a little bit more comfortable. But I put in the extra effort today since we're doing something a little bit different, so you're welcome. They're stretchier, so I can do jigs in them. But I will stop. I will stop that now. So hello everybody. As I said, I'm doing something pretty different today. I just really wanted to change it up. I know you're used to covers or originals like I did last week. And I actually got a comment on last week's video that stood out to me, essentially because it was also something I was planning on doing at some point, but I was like, let's do it this week. But I got a comment that said, would you mind doing a video where you describe your songwriting process and kind of go through the steps and whatnot? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And I thought maybe, I'm looking at my other guitar over here, that's where my gaze is directed at. I thought about writing something towards the end too, just to kind of give you a glimpse into how I work. Of course, it's just me. Everybody everybody is different when it comes to their own process, and my process really differs depending on my mood, if I'm writing alone or not. Today I thought I'd give you a look into how I write on my guitar with me, myself, and I, and my thoughts. So yeah, you know me mostly from making covers, which is really kind of the way to do it on YouTube. At least for me it was, because I felt like, you know, if I put my own spin on songs that people know, popular songs, relevant songs, that will get people to watch me and see me. And it ended up being such a blessing and also a really fun way to find my own sound and sort of nurture that and develop that. Ironically, because, you know, who would think doing other people's music would lead you to finding your own voice? But in a lot of ways, that's kind of what happened with me. It was a challenge for me to have to do my own thing with someone else's songs. And as much as I love to do that, and I will always love to do that, and in some capacity I always will do that, my heart really rests in writing songs, like many artists. Personally, I think that's one of my strengths as an artist, is my ability to write. So, with that being said, I figured maybe before I go into how I do it, I could kind of describe a little bit about how I got into doing it in the first place, kind of my history of songwriting. Before songs, it was actually poetry. I actually wrote a poem in elementary school about my grandfather who passed away. It ended up in some kind of youth poetry publication, and I cannot for the life of me remember what that was called, or even if I had that in any records, but I just remember writing that about him. I really found a passion for it in about 7th grade because my English teacher that year did this whole poetry lesson. We had like a final project where we made like a packet of poems, and it would be like a haiku and an acrostic poem. And then my favorite one was like the freely written poem, or whatever that's called. And I love that because there were just no boundaries, no limitations on what you could say, how long it would be. When it comes to writing creatively, poems or songs, you can be kind of as free as you want. I loved my English teacher because she really kind of nurtured that, and she was so nice. That helped me kind of foster that ability and that love. And then from there, I started writing songs. So I started writing songs before I played any instrument at all. I had this vision every time I would write. I would imagine the instrumentation around it, a whole band or whatever. Yeah, so in my head I had a full record. It was great. But I just didn't have a way to make it actually sound like a song yet, except for in my mind. So a few years later was when I picked up guitar. Suddenly I was able to just add the things that I started, you know, that I had been envisioning for a long time. So that's kind of like the short the short story of how that came to be. I still love poetry. Personally, I have to be honest, I don't think I'm the strongest poet. That probably sounds contradictory because one might argue that poetry and songwriting, you know, songwriting is poetry. They're kind of one and the same. And yeah, I guess that's true, but I mean in a more traditional sense, like a poem that sits on a page or a poem that's spoken. I don't think I'm like the best at that. So that's why I found my strength was in writing songs. And of course, I'm a singer, so that just kind of blended with that really well. I wrote a lot of not so good songs. I think many songwriters have songs that they're not particularly proud of, and that's where it all begins. You know, you don't wake up one day a great songwriter unless you're a prodigy, but it takes some work and some development. It certainly was an evolution from the first song to where I am now. And there are even songs here on YouTube I shudder to tell you that, you know, early ones that like 6 or 7 minutes long, and they were just too drawn out. I didn't have the ability to kind of make the songs more concise and say what I needed to in a shorter amount of time. Again, that just comes with age, and you know, I can't erase that part of me, and I can't erase the songs that I wrote in the beginning because it's what makes me who I am now. I have to say personally that I didn't become a really good songwriter, in my opinion, till I was about 20. And I feel like the turning point for me was, sorry, my dog's just shaking if you hear his little jingly tags. Yeah, in my opinion, it wasn't until I wrote my song Pretty that I became like pretty proficient at it. I just go at my own pace. I still go at my own pace with a lot of things in life, and writing songs and becoming a really good writer with a collection of music that I'm really proud to say is mine, that I wrote. Yeah, that didn't happen until a little bit later. So that's kind of the history of that. So generally when I sit down to write a song, I mean, I'm not always in the mood for it, to be honest with you, but I try to write several times a week. But what I've learned is I'm not afraid to walk away if it's not working, if it's not feeling organic, if I'm forcing something and it's just not meant to be. Some days it's not meant to be, and that's okay. That is one of the biggest pieces of advice I honestly could give to people that want to write songs. Some days it's just not gonna happen, you know, and that's totally okay. Sometimes we just need to hit refresh. I just really have to take my time with it and my own process. I also actually unearthed these things. I now actually most of the time use Google Documents to write songs. That really comes in handy when you're writing with other people. You can edit the same document at the same time. You can really actually co-write together, which is really nice. But yeah, I mean, some of my favorite songs I've written are in here. I Know What I Want is in here. If I can find it. Does it matter? Do you care? I don't know. I have like tons of these books. One time I actually tried to write a song in Spanish, and it just that definitely wasn't meant to be. Horrible doodles, if you can see, it just, I don't even know. But yeah, I even have like, it says like, original song written by Mackenzie Johnson, in case like I forgot that I wrote that in my own book. Yeah, so that's kind of where it all began, and you know, although sometimes I cringe at some of the things I wrote as a younger person, they're a part of me. They're a part of this process that makes me who I am. Oftentimes I find when I sit down, I go into it consciously thinking I'm going to write about one thing, and then end up writing something entirely different than what I originally thought. I really think that it has everything to do with your subconscious brain being at work and really kind of guiding your hand. Like, I'll be honest with you, like that song Player that I posted last week, I really don't have much of a recollection of writing that at all. Like, I can't really tell you how it happened. It sounds bizarre, but some of my favorite songs are the ones that it just kind of like black out when writing. I don't know, they just exist on a page one day, and then your conscious mind catches up after the fact. And I just go with the flow, with whatever is meant to kind of be spat out that day. I have my phone with me too because it's one of my biggest songwriting tools. I'm not a music reader. I don't know how to read music. I know the very, very basic concepts of theory. If I could actually physically write music, maybe I wouldn't have to record it onto my voice memos on my phone, but I do. And I mean, even little like vocal elements of songs, and they're just like, you know, oh, that would be cool in the background or whatever. And I just record them. I have probably thousands of them here and backed up on my computer, and it's probably my #1 tool when it comes to writing. When in doubt, record it, have it down. Sometimes like I'll just wake up in the middle of the night. I can't even sing yet, but I just vocalize something that I was thinking and then go back to sleep, and then I listen to it later and I'm like, what was that? Who knows, I might even find something from like 7 months ago that I just unearth and it becomes a thing. So I'm gonna grab my guitar. really played anything yet today. But yeah, generally I just kind of pick this up and noodle around with it. Yeah, and sometimes I capo it at different places to see if there's a different sound that I want. I really don't know what I'm doing today, what I'm writing today. It also depends on like if I'm writing with someone else. If you're working with somebody who has like a track that's already built and you just kind of fill in the blanks. I love to do that too. That's probably my favorite way to co-write a song, is to just kind of fill in the blanks with my lyrics. Where I'm at right now, personally, is I've learned that I really like to write alone more than anything. That's just not for everybody. Some people just really feel like maybe they need somebody else in the room to sort of be an editor of their thoughts, or, you know, maybe they have a vision and they might need a person or two to help them make it come to fruition. A lot of times though, I mean, co-writes can be wonderful that way, in a sense where, you know, man, I wouldn't have thought of that. It's that old cliche that 2 heads are better than 1, or 3 heads, or 4, or however many people happen to be in a room. But it's just my personal preference. I think the stronger songs of mine are the ones I've really kind of been holed up with in a corner, or like in my bedroom, and that's just a personal thing. But yeah, I vow to be part of every single song that I ever release, more so than just being a part of it. I mean, I don't want to just be in a room with people and stamp my name on something that I just said, yeah, that sounds cool. I really want to be very hands-on and very much a co-writer. So that's something, in case you ever wonder about that. That's just an important aspect of it for me, is just to either have written the song completely on my own or write it with somebody else and really be a true part of it. And that's just how I roll, you know? That's how I roll. So trying to think of what I might want to write about today. Like I said, this could end up being totally... Did I say that? I don't really remember. This could end up being terrible, or it could just be okay, but it, you know, it'll give you a bit of a sense of how I do it. I also, in addition to voice memos, I have in my notes thoughts, words, phrases, quotes by other people that might spark some inspiration for me. Some things that I don't really remember where I thought of that and why, could end up being something. So I'm trying to see if there's anything in here that I put down and then it became something. Oh yeah, so I just wrote a song like 2 days ago. Here's another part of my crazy artistry, is sometimes I actually have conversations with, like, the wall, like, you know, as if there is somebody with me. It's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm having a conversation with a camera. Yeah, I just look like a crazy person talking to myself, but that's how some of these phrases came to be, was discussing it out loud and these things happening. So one of the things I put down was heart and hands. I didn't know what that meant yet, but that ended up being in the song. Maybe I can play a little bit of it for you, actually, because I have Google Documents open here right now, so I can play some of it. It's called Rearrange, and another song that I wanted to write something else that day, but this happened. But yeah, so I had heart and hands, and I ended up saying something. Heart, don't fail me now, hands, pray, head will bow. So that was kind of how heart and hands ended up weaving its way into this song. And something about false castles, roots, trees, the shape of me. So, what were the chords to this? I forget. Oh yeah. No, I remember now. So let me play, like, I haven't warmed up my voice or anything, and it's whatever. So it goes, it's only when you leave home, it's only when you get your heart broke, that you recognize where you come from, and that you're lucky to be loved. It's only when your world falls, it's only when the 4 walls that kept you warm. Let me try that again. It's only when your world falls, it's only when the 4 walls that kept you warm and held you up tumbled, it was enough. Oh no, heart, don't fail me now, hands pray, head will bow, I'll stay on the ground, on the ground. Heart, keep teaching me, humble, faithfully, wisdom, take the lead, and I will follow. I won't leave it all behind for bigger, better things. All the money and the good life don't mean nothing if I can't see that if I leave it all behind, it means I'm leaving me, and I don't have to change. I'll only rearrange. change, I'll only rearrange. Then it goes back into the verse now. And then so how I ended up getting false castles and the roots and the trees thing in there was in the bridge. So I said, oh, how I've been so wrong, false castles in the distance, no root, no tree, the shape of me was sculpted here, right here. Oh, I wanna leave it all behind. And it goes back into the better things. All money and the good life don't mean nothing if I can't see. Yeah, so anyway, but yeah, that's kind of the vibe of that song. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to these notes and see if there's something in here. Boys on bikes. I don't know. That could be kind of cool. I don't know what that means, but let's do that. I don't know why that sounds cool to me. But yeah, I kind of play around here, like, I keep it pretty simple for the most part. And then if something sticks with me, maybe I'll try a little bit of something off camera, and I'll come back with you. Watching the girls go by, I don't know, we'll see. So, I came up with something. Again, this is probably gonna be like really silly. When I thought of like boys on bikes, I thought about like, you know, being like a teenager, and like I remember being very nervous around boys. So, you know, it's kind of like playing around with that idea, like, of being like that young girl. Watching the boys ride by, and the girls are so shy. I'm so tired with them boys on bikes. This is so silly, but if it sounds stupid, sometimes, like, just go with it and let your inhibitions fly away. Just don't be too afraid to say something silly. It's a very vulnerable thing. Like, sharing this when I was 13, 14, 15, like this I would never do. As I was explaining before, like, sometimes, you know, you just have to grow as a writer, and the ideas they're not just gonna always fall into your lap, and it's not always gonna be a great song that comes out of the end. Again, I'm far from like a perfect authority on this, because I can always grow and become better myself. I probably won't come out with anything like great or anything at all. But yeah, just kind of the boys ride by, ride by, ride by, and the girls are so shy, so shy, so shy, can't bring themselves to say hi, hi. So shy, the boys on bikes, you know. But there's, you know, there might be something there, and you just kind of have to shape it, mold it, bend it, play with it. Sometimes you abandon it for a little while and you go back to it. A lot of times it's just like singing gibberish until it forms into something worthwhile. And it's a lot of going back and tweaking it, and yeah. I think it was kind of ambitious to think that I was going to write something, because it feels a little, I don't know. But you just kind of get an idea. Like, there's no real, like, what's the word? Like, it goes back to what I was saying about how I don't have a ton of theory knowledge. I just, whoa, my eye's twitching. What was that? I don't sit down and write music traditionally, as, you know, some people might. This is still fresh in my mind, but I was reading that infamous, if you guys have been on Twitter or anywhere, the infamous Quincy Jones interviews that are just like tell all and very honest. I spent literally probably over an hour yesterday reading the GQ interview with Quincy Jones. Actually, you know what? I wrote some of the stuff down. He said that music is both emotion and science. For me, I lead with my emotions more because I'm more of a lyricist, so I'm constantly thinking of how I can say this with my words and just kind of couple it with the right melody or whatever. But there is a science to it. You know, I think he's a lot more like technical than I am, and I think that's just also what makes him so brilliant. I think a lot of us can learn so much, throwing yourself into your craft as well, and always realizing that you can be better. That's not to say I can't make something really great, and that I don't make things that are great, that I am proud of. There's always room to grow. For me, it's important to just put my heart into it. I would never be lazy about it. I want to be the kind of artist that I like to listen to, and my favorite artists are the ones that have, you know, from top to bottom, a really solid album. I know it's not an album world technically anymore, it's a single-driven world, but integrity and that sort of, I don't know, that hardiness to your work and every single song and every single word that you say, every note you play, you know, I want it to mean something. So that's my take on it. I probably ended up, I ended up in all sorts of different, all sorts of different directions today, and went off course. And look, I didn't come up with the verse and a chorus, but hopefully that kind of gives you more insight into it. I don't know if any of this makes any sense, but again, I mean, if there's anything that, you know, you can learn from me, cool, you know. But really, I would say just focus on what your strengths are, because my strengths probably aren't your strengths. You might have more knowledge of music theory than I do. You might want to write with other people. You might write 2 songs a day. You just kind of have to foster what works for you. So this is just kind of what works for me. That's that. So I hope that that was insightful for you. I'm probably going to think of 1,000 other things that I could have added into this video. How do I wrap up this video? Boys on Bikes, guys. Buy it on iTunes. It's the new jam that everyone's listening to. Stay weird and be yourself, and don't let people tell you how your process should be or what's right, what's wrong. Music is very personal for everybody. You know, it's not like there's a real formal structure to it. Everybody is different. You know, if you need to tap into a really emotional place and you have to do that with somebody else and explain it with them, or do it on your own, or don't use an instrument at all and just write without it, there's nothing wrong with that either. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Let me know if you would like to see more of these kinds of things. Give me any kind of requests if you enjoyed this. More songwriting videos. I can talk for hours and hours and hours about it. So there's many different aspects of it that I can keep going with and elaborating on. If you'd like to see that, if you'd like to see more Q&A videos, just let me know if you like these, and I'll do them more often, and maybe switch it up every Monday. Let me know. I hope you enjoyed it, and I have some exciting things coming up over the next couple weeks, so I'm excited to share them with you. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.